Morning, everyone. Just going to give it a couple of seconds before get started so that everyone can join. That's probably enough there, actually. So cool. But yeah. Anyway, yeah. Morning, everyone. Thanks for joining the webinar this morning to go through the new key features of our new analytics to CashCalc integration that went live a couple of weeks ago. I'm Will Taplin, one of the BDMs on the advisor side here at FE Fund Info. Been at the company for a couple of years, so I've quite a good understanding in the ways that advisors are using the features within our Nexus ecosystem. And yeah, today's call has been scheduled to go over the new analytics to CashCalc integration, why we've launched it, how it works, and then how you can use it from your side. So in terms of an agenda, what we're looking to cover is how to push portfolio data from analytics into CashCalc, how to then build a cash flow using those imported growth rates, how to stress test your clients' portfolios, how the rates have been calculated, any of the integrations that are available within Nexus, and then questions at the end. So as Jacob mentioned on the chat there's a question box in the top right hand corner within the GoToWebinar section to submit questions. We'll try and go through all of them at the end, but if we don't get through to them, we will be in touch. So a quick introduction to who we are at FE Fund Info. Ultimately, FE Fund Info is a data house, so we aggregate, collect, validate loads and loads of investment data. Therefore, we have loads of clients in both the institutional kind of asset management and advisor space. So in terms of who we serve, there's over 1,000 fund managers who use our platform, over 30 platforms, and then as well as that, over 4,200 financial advice and power planning firms. So we ultimately sit in the space, or you could bridge the gap between the wiser asset management industry and the advice market. So looking to collect the data and then servicing the advice industry through products like analytics, TrustNet, FinExcel, data feeds to platforms and websites, etc. So the solutions that we provide are then collectively referred to as part of the Nexus ecosystem. So Nexus is designed to do the bit between the back end, where the client data is held and stored, and then the provider or the platform at the other end where the investments are held. So within that journey, within the advice journey through Nexus, you can use the features for onboarding, gathering fact-find information, risk profiling, fund portfolio research, cash flow comparisons, pension switching, consolidations, platform due diligence, etc. So we sit in the middle of all of those. So all of our solutions combined and integrated together are meant to then fill that space while also being integrated and linked to the back office or back end platform. So Nexus, as I said, is our fully integrated advisor tech stack that is then wrapped around your investment proposition. So within that, the three components are FE Analytics, which is our fund and portfolio research and analysis tool, CashCalc for cash flow modeling, and the client portal, and then Advisor Asset, newly integrated into analytics, which is our charge comparison and platform due diligence tool. So the idea is basically that we're introducing a full suite of integrated software solutions for advisors, so that you don't require subscriptions with other providers, and that as part of at Nexus we can, or FE Fund Info through Nexus, you can then do everything you need. So analytics and CashCalc sit at the heart of that. So over the last few years, we've been working quite a lot on building the integrations between analytics and CashCalc a bit further. So the two systems are now strategically connected. So that enables advisors to deliver personalized, kind of forward-looking financial advice based on real-time data rather than using generic assumptions. So that's what we're kind of going to go through today. And the solution enhances forecasting accuracy by generating tailored projections that reflect each client's unique portfolio, enabling advisors to efficiently create bespoke cash flow plans aligned with their goals. But yeah, this is the final iteration of the FE Analytics to CashCalc integration. As part of the other releases that we've launched over the last kind of year or 18 months or so, advisors can now log into both systems via single sign-on, save time jumping between them and adding in passwords, etc. The attitude to risk questionnaires are now linked. So when you've got a client on CashCalc and you're using the onboarding functionality, as well as sending somebody a fact find and other documents, you can also send them an ATRQ, which a client can then complete at their end, and you can then push the results back into analytics to go and find an investment solution that matches that client's risk profile. And then as well as that, you can transfer portfolio data. So things like holdings can be directly imported from your back office system or CRM. You can view associated fund documentation within CashCalc, and you can also then run a medium scan without having to switch platforms. But as I said, the final integration of the analytics and CashCalc integration is the one we're going to run through today to go over how you can push the growth rates and take the asset allocation data from analytics and then present that into CashCalc. So I'm just going to load up analytics in a second. So why do we launch this kind of new phase or recent phase of the integration? One of the questions we get frequently asked from, or I get frequently asked from my side, is when advisors are building cash flow models, one of the questions we get quite often is, what growth rates do other advisors use? If my client's got a balanced risk profile, should I just go and add a 5% growth rate in there? And I think there's a bit of a lack of guidance around growth rates to use on cash flow tools, and subsequently, this has been a feature that a lot of advisors have been kind of requesting from us for a while now. So that's why we're so excited to get this integration live and launched. But as I said, the integration is designed to transform how advisors are then forecasting portfolio growth. So you can then build the cash flow projections based on the actual client holdings rather than just relying on those generic growth assumptions. So the kind of main benefits or key features of this is improving the forecasting accuracy. So you're leveraging real-time asset allocation data from FE Analytics, as well as the weightings that are specific to each client's investment proposition. And then you've also then got scalable bespoke planning. So advisors, or you can easily create basically growth templates from actual portfolios to build customized cash flow plans tailored to each client. So how does this work? In the demonstration of the system today, I'm going to run through a scenario where I've got my dummy client here called Keith Baker, and I'm looking to say, well, here's what your current plan is doing, Keith. I may be looking to recommend you switch slightly or move into a portfolio that's slightly different, and I'm then going to go and show you the effects of modeling the cash flow scenario off the back of that. To give anyone an idea, if you weren't aware already of where you can find this asset allocation data within analytics, when I've got two portfolios added, or when I've got a portfolio added into my active list within the analytics system, and I select this small fact sheet page, that runs a medium scan report. So what these are effectively is very quick kind of X-ray reports into a portfolio that's going to give me a breakdown on what funds are in there, what their weightings are, how the portfolios have performed against their own benchmarks, but also the asset sector and region allocation. And this is the data here that my cash flow model will then be based off. So you can view the asset allocation data for any portfolio via the medium scan. There is another report in analytics. Actually, if I was going to do a scenario like this, I would probably go and run a portfolio comparison report as well to compare the two of them side by side next to each other. But I want to stress at this stage as well, literally anything that you've got saved as a portfolio in analytics, you can then use within the new integration. So if you're an advisor using MPS solutions, you've been enabled for your model portfolios, you find them in your drop-down list, you can export that into CashCalc. If you build your own model portfolios, they can be exported into CashCalc. If you're even using like a multi-asset funds as part of your CIP, as long as you save them as a portfolio in analytics, the data can be exported. So essentially anything that's got an asset, any portfolio will have an asset allocation can therefore be forecast into a CashCalc system. So how do I do that? It's really straightforward, really simple. If I'm looking to then go and model, so as I said, for my client Keith Baker here, I've got his proposed portfolio I've built on analytics, and I want to then go and push that data into CashCalc to build a model. First thing you want to do is open up the portfolio builder screen. So by clicking on the name of the portfolio down here, and then wait for it to load a second. And then once the data's pulled through, if I select the data tab and then press export to CashCalc, that will then pull up two options. So it's as simple as that, really. So select data, export to FE CashCalc, and then here I've got two options. So it can either export the data as a linear growth rate or as a asset allocation template, which will then drive the Monte Carlo tool within CashCalc, or both. So in this instance here, I'm looking to project Keith Baker's proposed portfolio as both a linear and asset allocation template, and then underneath it, I need to give it a name. So in this instance here, I'm just going to keep it the same name as I've got my portfolio saved as, and then select create template. And then all the system's then doing is mapping the asset allocation data from analytics into CashCalc to pull the information over then. So if I select the go to CashCalc option here, the system's using single sign-on to launch me into the investment proposition tab within CashCalc, where you'll see two tabs at the top of the screen. So you've got one for growth templates, which is where my linear rate will pull through, and then I've got another one over there for asset allocation, which is where the asset allocation templates will pull through. So if I expand the box here for portfolio, where you can see the little green icon, these are all of the portfolios then I've pulled in from analytics. I can see who's done it and then on what day I've done that. So in this instance here, I've already done Keith Baker's current portfolio. I did that one yesterday, and I've just done Keith Baker's new portfolio, which I've done now. And if I go and hover over the line there, I can see what that linear growth forecast is going to be. So 6.46% will then be modeled over my whole scenario. So the asset allocation template, exactly the same, but it pulls through the variable growth template rather than a linear one. And what I can do then here is actually then tether both of these portfolios or solutions to my risk profile. So if I click on my risk profiles tab, select the EV risk profile 3, when I go down to the bottom there, I can go and say, well, I need to link your Keith Baker's current or proposed portfolio solution to my risk 3, and that means I can then go and map it into the Monte Carlo tool that I'll run through in a moment. So if I set asset allocation template there, tick the box for Keith Baker's proposed solution, press confirm and press save, that risk profile has been updated successfully, and I can go and map the asset allocation template into that. So as well as being able to export from analytics, you can also pull in the portfolios directly from CashCalc. So rather than logging into the analytics system, if I thought, well, actually, I want to go and pull through one of the linear growth templates, instead of logging into analytics, I can go to my growth templates tab over here, select template type, portfolio, and then new portfolio from there, and then you can pull those through. Sorry, I need to save this first. And you can go and pull them in via the import tab. Section here. So how are the growth rates calculated? So we're using basically the annualized linear growth rate rather than the average growth rate. So taking the assets from the portfolio and then mapping them to the unit trust and OICs sectors. So from there, we've taken the annualized performance for each sector from the start of the data period, which I think is around about 1989 or 1990, up to the year end for 2024. So the data that we've got there includes approximately 35 years or so of history. And that period itself then covers 2 or 3 market crashes, as well as like a number of different bull run periods. So it's quite a significant amount of time to then go and work and use the annualized periods from. The weightings are then applied to each sector to create the linear growth rate. So if I've got my portfolio in here, Keith Baker proposed portfolio, press view, again, that's going to then pull through what the linear growth rates are, and I can then go and select the asset mapping feature. That pulls through. Here's the asset allocation breakdown on the left-hand side for the portfolio from analytics, and then on the right-hand side, this is the sector allocation on CashCalc that we then using the data for. So what can I then do with that data? So I said, first of all, I want to then go and dive into a cash flow scenario to demonstrate that. The first thing I'm going to do is go to my clients list within CashCalc. So if I click on clients in the top left-hand corner, again, I'm doing this for Keith Baker as per my comparison on analytics. I'm going to go click on Keith Baker's name. That opens up the client's profile within CashCalc, and I've got all of those tabs at the top here. One of the things as well worth mentioning at this stage is that what we probably do as an advisor is go and pull in the data for Keith Baker from the back office system. So if I've got my back office integrated into CashCalc, I can go and import all of his the information regarding the savings pots, incomes, expenses, etc. And then what I would then do is press the info tab, press update a calculator, and then I can go and push all of that information from the back office system into the cash flow scenario. In exactly the same way, if you're an advisor using CashCalc for the onboarding tools, sending the information to the client via the onboarding via the portal, and then go and push that into the cash flow scenario. So when I open up the cash flow, I've got one already created here. If I click on the cash flow tab, we can see here's my net model that I've already run, and I'm going to press view and update forecast. So previously, what I've done as part of my process maybe is go and use a linear growth rate as mentioned at the start of the process there. So I've got my clients got a relatively simple or straightforward kind of retirement planning scenario. He's got £50,000 in his current account, £250,000 in the pension, and then £50,000 in a cash ISA. And I said I've used a 5% linear growth rate on that because he's a relatively balanced or moderate investor. When I click on the cash flow model, as I said, you can see there's a relatively traditional retirement planning scenario where he's going to go into drawdown and use the pension income in retirement to fund the expenditure. And then based on the model that we've just run here, I can see that when the client reaches an age of 92, he's due to then run out of money, and if he then reaches the age of 100, that balance would be minus 88,000. So to update this, as I said, this is already my client's current situation, and I'm going to then go and want to model my client's current portfolio on that. Really, really straightforward again. So once I've exported the data, as I said, I've already done this before for the current scenario, I can click on my savings pots tab, I can click on edit, and you'll see here these two return format options have been changed. They used to say linear and variable. Now you've got input and template. So if I select the template option, you'll see in here a number of the mixed investment sectors and the example benchmarks that we provided in your account. But what I can now do is scroll down to portfolios and then go and find the relevant portfolio I'm going to map on my scenario. So in this instance here, I'm running my scenario for Keith Baker's current situation. If I click on that option, it's going to then pull through. Here's the linear growth rate. Again, this is just simply taking the asset allocation data of this existing portfolio and then using 35 years of data to forecast the bespoke rate going forward. And there's the gross linear growth rate. There's the average real return once we've taken into account inflation. So when I press update pension, we're then going to see how that's going to then change the model. So when I click on the cash flow model now, I can see it's client's still going to run out of money later on in his 90s, but the scenario looks a little bit better. But I want to model a scenario in this instance where I'm comparing the current situation or the current portfolio with the client's proposed portfolio. So where I've made the changes, the relevant changes within FE Analytics, and I've exported the updated asset allocation into here, I want to compare the two of them side by side. Again, within CashCalc, it's really straightforward to do that. So if I press clone forecast in the top right hand corner, I can duplicate the existing one and then go and make the relevant changes to it to say, well, here's scenario A, here's scenario B, and I can then highlight the differences then perhaps in risk and the asset allocation breakdown. So if I call this scenario here my Keith Baker proposed forecast and then select create, basically what we've done here is we've created two different cash flow models. So they're running side by side next to each other, and it's really easy to make those comparisons. So within the Keith Baker proposed scenario, if I select my savings pots again, just repeat the exact same process, but rather than using the current portfolio, I can press edit, template, and then find the proposed solution. So again, exactly as before, taking the real-time asset allocation breakdown of the proposed solution now, and then building the cash flow model based off that. And as I said again, just to reiterate that you can do that with literally anything saved as a portfolio in analytics. So any MPS solutions that you're using, if you're building models, all of that can be forecasted into the model. So now when I click on the cash flow model, you can see there's quite a stark difference there. So comparing the two forecasts, if I press compare forecast up there at the top in the top right hand corner, I can say, well, here's your current situation, Keith. As I said before, based on your current model and based on your current asset allocation, your forecast to run out of money by the time you reach your late 90s. But if you invest in the solution that we're recommending for you, based on the historical data for the current asset allocation you've got, the scenario looks a lot healthier. And also clearly as well with these, when we're comparing even relatively small percentage changes on the linear growth rates, when you're modeling those over pots, like larger pots of money or extended periods of time like I'm doing in this situation, it can make a huge difference to how that model looks. So that's why it's so vital that the growth rates are as accurate as they can be. And so we're not then just using the generic growth rates from there. So that's again like a explanation of how kind of simple and easy it is to go and use that linear growth rate option there. So just push it in from analytics or pull it in from CashCalc and assign it to the relevant savings pots. The second thing you can also then use that asset allocation data to do is to go and build a kind of stress test it or use or kind of create a Monte Carlo style scenario. So To do that, all I need to do again, I'll go to the left-hand side. I've got stress testing and Monte Carlo as my feature on the left. If I wanted to go and simulate a market event on here, I could do so. If we wanted to go and see what would happen if market crash of 2008 or so happened to this model now and to this asset allocation breakdown, I can. So if I press start market event, select the relevant one I want to use, again, hit my start age. So this is going to affect the pension pot only, run the simulations. We can show what that will then do. This is a scenario where you're going to then run out of money because even with the new asset allocation breakdown, but as I said, the new integration is actually designed then to go and link into the Monte Carlo and stress testing tools. So the Monte Carlo tool within CashCalc is a stochastic modeling tool that allows you to test the likelihood that over 10,000 simulations, the asset allocation of a portfolio or of a savings pot won't drop below a threshold amount that you've then assigned. So in this instance here, again, I've got my client's pension portfolio and I've added in the updated asset allocation breakdown. I press run simulation. Over here on the left hand side, I can then go and add in my minimum threshold that I want to then test that pot doesn't drop below. So in this instance here, I'm going to go and test that the pot doesn't drop below 0. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm testing that the client doesn't run out of money, or that particular pot rather doesn't run out of money. And then underneath that, I can go and then select the risk profile that I've tethered those solutions to at the start of the process. So as I said, when I linked in, when I pulled in the asset allocation breakdown for those models, within the investment proposition tab, I linked them to the risk profile 3. So in this instance here, I can go and search client risk profile 3. When I select the drop down option there, the asset allocation breakdown of that proposed portfolio will pull through. And again, there, if I wanted to see what that looked like, if I press show asset allocation breakdown, it will pull through with the pie chart. And the system also then pulls through the minimum, maximum drawdown figures as well. And then in this instance here, I'm looking to test that the pot doesn't drop to 0 over the whole model. So I'm going to leave the simulation end days as 100. And then all I need to do is select run 10,000 simulations in the bottom left hand corner. And then that system will then do that in the background. So basically what this chart's showing me, these green bars there in the background are the current cash flow model that we've already, the current cash flow scenario that we've already modeled within the cash flow modeling tab on the left-hand side. And then essentially what we've done then is overlaid 10,000 simulations over the top of it. So in a scenario with great market conditions and bull run ongoing, the top line here is basically going to show you that kind of very best case scenario. In the reverse of that, or on the flip side, in an instance where there's bear runs and the markets market crashes, this is where we're looking as the lowest scenario. So there's 10,000 random squiggles there that are showing you those different scenarios. So in the worst case scenario, actually looking at the model, I can explain to Keith that based on the current asset allocation breakdown, or the proposed asset allocation breakdown rather, of his portfolio, you might run out of money at the age of 70. But the actual key kind of bit to look at within this screen here is the results in the bottom left hand corner. So in the scenario that I've run there, I can highlight that 85% or so of the simulations result in the client having more than 0, not running out of money by the time he reaches 99, 100, or the other way around, 15% or just 15% of those scenarios have run out of money. So with all of the reports and the features on CashCalc, again, whenever I've built a simulation or I've built a cash flow model, if I press print, it will then produce quite a nice little report for me. Again, everything within CashCalc is white labeled if you've added your logos in there. So here I've got my Monte Carlo simulation for Keith Baker. See when I've done it, here's my logo. This is the asset allocation breakdown that we're then working off. And then again, within the cash flow model, if I'm going to be using the linear growth rates, really straightforward to go and create those reports down there. So you press create report in the bottom left hand corner. I can then go and model in with those scenarios, and the system will also pull through for me. Here's the breakdown of each of those pots. These are the growth rates we're working off. I can see here's the net investment return, and that's based on Keith Baker's current portfolio, whereas the new one will show the proposed scenario. So as I said, all of the outputs on CashCalc you can then use to provide added value for clients, and it makes it a bit easier then to kind of explain or show them by visualizing what you've been explaining. As I said, yeah, one of the things we're trying to emphasize with this integration, or with this demonstration, sorry, of the integration, is basically how kind of easy it is to run. So as you can see there, that's kind of 25 minutes or so, but I've gone through it, and it's a couple of seconds basically it takes to push the portfolios from analytics into CashCalc. And again, it's the same when you're pulling them from CashCalc into from analytics into CashCalc as well. But yeah, that's as I said, that's kind of the integration done. So at the end there, we've got a couple of questions. So hopefully, as I said, explained how the integration works, why we've launched it. Yeah, I'll answer a couple of the questions in a moment. From our side, kind of what's next, there's a couple of developments as well we're hoping to launch in the near future. So Nexus AI, how you can use or how we're looking to use AI to help within the Nexus platform, and as well as that, the MPS universe within FA Analytics hopefully should be launched relatively imminently. So stay tuned for those updates. As I said, yeah, finally, I'll move over to any questions we've got. So 2 seconds, and we can start to go through them now. I think most of the questions currently in the chat have been answered, but yeah, if anyone's got any more, then yeah, obviously feel free to ping them through, or yeah, reach out after the call. As well as that, if you're looking to have if you want to have a one-to-one demonstration with anybody within the team, so if you've got an account manager, feel free to reach out to them. If not, reach out to myself or one of us on the new business team, and we can run through the features with you. So again, if you want to have a trial period, if you're an existing CashCalc user and you want to jump on a trial to have a look at analytics, feel free to reach out and we can get that arranged for you. If you're looking to explore any of our other products, we do a Demo Day Wednesday series. It's really popular. So similar to this one here, and we run webinars on a lot of the different features in analytics, CashCalc, and advisor assets. So really kind of showing you how you can leverage the data across the Nexus solution essentially for yourselves. And then yeah, if you want to connect on LinkedIn, we share a lot of data on there as well. So feel free to scan the QR code. Okay, yeah, Kendra. Yeah, I can see your message there, Kendra. Yeah, if you need any training on analytics, so anything specific on the analytics side, there, yeah, there may well be features. There's a lot of functionality in analytics. Feel free to reach out to me, and then we can get a call. Yeah, get a call scheduled, or if you've currently got an account manager, I can pass your details over to them, and then we can have a look at that. But as I said, yeah, the Demo Day Wednesday series is also really popular for something very similar that runs through how a lot of the features across the tools work. But as I said, yes, yeah, it didn't quite take the full 45 minutes. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining. Yeah, as I said, any other questions, anything specific, feel free to give us a shout and we'll be able to help. And yeah, if you want live demos or training, etc., or anything, let me know. But I can give you 15 minutes back of the day. I'll just keep it running for a second, just in case there are any more questions coming through. Yes, Jesse, I'll make a note on mine, and then I can reach out to you in a moment, and we can get something, get some in schedule basically to run through the features, set up a trial, etc. Thanks, for that, Julia. I think I can have a look. I can have a look on the system for you. So one of the questions there was if we can stress test the client's portfolio if invested in South African or USA, American markets. I think the way in which the stress testing works is that on analytics, if we've got a portfolio built in there, we'll be able to should be able to derive the asset allocation breakdown, and the asset allocation is subsequently then mapped into the unit trust and OIC sectors within the UK, which is where the performance data is taken from. So, I mean, if you've got any specific examples, and you're using analytics, and if not, I'll reach out to you anyway. But we'll get a call booked in, and I can have a look at the system and see what we can generate from there. But yeah, my instinct is that should work, but it will be using the kind of, for example, the unit trust and OIC North American sector average for the USA market. But yeah, we can have a look at that for you. But you can, so on the simulations will be run on each individual portfolio. So if you built a client portfolio with funds within, one area and then also within another area and put them all together, the system would look at the asset allocation breakdown across the whole thing. Separately, if you wanted to then go and run a stress testing on Monte Carlo scenario, looking at kind of solely North America, you could do that, and then solely another region or area, you could also do the same. But yeah, I think that's probably, well, it looks like that's it for the questions. I know we've had a couple come through, but not for a minute or so. But yeah, so we're gonna wrap it up here. As I said, yeah, thanks everyone for joining. Any other questions? Yeah, feel free to reach out to myself or anyone else on the team. If you need any help with anything that we've run through there, or anything across the whole, the wider, as I said, the wider ecosystem, any of the features of analytics, CashCalc, or advisor asset you're using, please reach out to us. And yeah, questions we'll follow up shortly. But yeah, thank you everyone for joining. As I said, give you kind of 10 minutes or so back of your day. Yeah, thanks. Take care, and yeah, have a good day as well. Bye.